press freedom in Libya. So this one is gonna be around the creation of the media outlets and the survival of them in nowadays. So I'm going to get this presentation to this main question, which is how the remaining Libyan media outlets have done to survive and report the situation of the country. And this presentation is gonna have four main points. These ones are gonna be the background in which Libyan media was created, the revolution and the boom of new media outlets after it, the development of the media horizon in the start of the civil war that continues to our days, and the biggest challenges and solutions to the upcoming future. So I'm just gonna give a little background. Libya is a recently new country, so it's pretty different to compare with any other country. It was created in 1951, and it stopped having a monarchy just until this year. After this, Muammar al-Gaddafi did create and establish Libya as a country. So he did the media outlets. He did portray them into a way not in journalistic terms, but only as propagandistic terms. For Gaddafi, the media was pretty fundamental to make the regime had a good image for all the population of the country, and for him to succeed with any other order that he did have and any other plans that he did wanted to made into the country. So in this case, Libya only had one press agency, which it was the Libyan General Press Corporation, and the only source of domestic news, it was Jamahira News. In this case, even if it has 71 newspapers and magazines, which seems like a lot, it was all controlled by the government and edited as well by them. So it was not a broad space to have public opinion and debate in the country, which makes this the whole horizon for our theme right now, which is freedom press. They didn't have the right to go ahead and talk about anything that had to do with corruption in the government decisions, the army actions in the country. Also, they couldn't talk about any other religion that was not Muslim, and any news related to Occident and the Arab League. Libya was kind of isolated from the world itself, because it did not have access to the internet, for example, which is a good space to have public debate until 1990s. So after this regime for Muammar al-Gaddafi was taken down in 2012, it was a revolution, of course, and it started a civil war. So this related to the media outlets has a lot to do. The Arab Spring was happening all around in the continent, so we need to have that in mind. So the rebels started to have a streaming of the fights with them, with the army, and they started to provide that information to Al Jazeera. As this war continued, the army that was loyal to Gaddafi started to cut internet and online resources. So the information that was recollected by the journalists, like domestic journalists and the citizens itself, was smuggled out of the country to be published in international media. That's when the international community started putting attention into this. So Nablus was the city where the rebels took control of the cities, and it was created the media center. The rebels knew that the information was pretty important to go ahead and win the war, so they started using the public structure and the existent media outlets to go ahead and broadcast their ideology. So United States was there, obviously, with not only troops, but United States was providing money to this type of rebel groups to go ahead and take down the regime. So that one percentage of that money was fluctuated to the creation of the media outlets. And in this boom, in this revolution, there was a lot of media outlets that were created because people finally felt that they had the right to talk about what they couldn't before. But these media outlets didn't last much, as the country didn't have an economic structure to give them the support for them to survive. And you either supported the revolution or you just were forced to close. In that case, I think it's really important to go ahead and mark that supporting the revolution is not the same as supporting free rights media, which is something that is being pretty confused. So in this case, we just have the biggest challenges right now for the freedom press in Libya. The international community has done a lot of attempts to go ahead and establish the peace, and not only the peace but the normality for the Libyan population. But this has been corrupted by this agents. Haftar is a colonel that was sent from USA to take down Gaddafi, and he actually did kill him in 2012, and he has been self-declared the leader of Libya in its transitional government. ISIS has joined the fight of the rebels in this war, and the USA troops still have presence into this country. So this means there is little to no space for the media outlets to go ahead and report the news that are happening, because you need to either support the rebels, or you need to either support the military coup of Haftar, or you're just going to be silenced. That's the critical situation right now. In that matter, the biggest challenges right now are this: Libya keeps being an excluded country, even though if it has a transitional government, it still has no help in economic matters. The economic structure is really weak. Their political structure is weakest as well, so it doesn't allow the media to actually have an habitat for it to grow. There is no experience in real journalists, because since the beginning, the journalists were only just made for make propaganda for the regime. So they do not have kind of schools of journalists. So they do not have the studies necessary to create journalists as we want, or as we see in modern countries. Also, the persecution of journalists, again, because Haftar colonel and because of ISIS and jihadist sympathies. And the possible solutions for this, of course, is, as we have seen, and as I can citate on multiple authors that I did research for this presentation, Libya does need to stop having a conflict. They need to stop having the civil war, for them to have not a transitional government, but an established government that can go ahead and put the rules to create a communications minister, and have, for example, the TV, the radio, and the paper news, all of the media outlets regulated, so they can be either private or public, but having a mixture of them. So the own population of Libya can go ahead and express themselves, not only through the social media, but in media outlets that support their point of vision. So that was my presentation. You can go ahead and see the authors that I just listed on the link that I'm going to put down below. Thank you.